A cavity. We all know the word. We all dread it, but almost nobody actually knows what one is. Like, what is physically happening inside your tooth when you get a cavity? Is it a worm? Is the tooth rotting like an apple? Is sugar literally eating a hole? Today we're going to zoom all the way in, down to the microscopic level, and watch a cavity form from the very first second to the moment it reaches the nerve. It's part gross, part fascinating, and weirdly satisfying. And by the end, you'll understand your own teeth better than most people ever will. Let's dig in. Pun absolutely intended. Quick myth bust before we start, because it's a good one. Sugar does not eat your teeth. Sugar is innocent. Kind of. The real villains are bacteria, and sugar is just their favorite fuel. A cavity is actually a chemistry story, and acid slowly dissolving a mineral. Once you see it that way, the whole thing clicks. So let's meet the cast of characters, then watch the crime unfold step by step. And stick around to the end, because I'll show you the one stage where you can actually reverse a cavity, a window most people don't even know exists. First, the setting. Your tooth has layers. The outer shell is enamel, the hardest material your body makes. Basically crystalline mineral, mostly calcium and phosphate locked together. Under that is dentin, softer and more sensitive. And in the core, that's the pulp, home to the nerve and blood vessels. Enamel's whole job is to be an impenetrable fortress wall. The entire story of a cavity is the story of that wall being chemically dissolved from the outside in. Keep the fortress image in your head. It'll make everything make sense. Step 1. The invaders arrive. Within hours of cleaning your teeth, a sticky layer starts forming on the surface, called a biofilm, better known as plaque. This isn't just gunk, it's a structured, living community of bacteria that glue themselves to your enamel. They're especially fond of the spots you miss, deep molar grooves, between teeth, along the gum line. Once they're anchored in, they're not going anywhere, unless you physically scrub or floss them off. Mouthwash alone won't do it. They're protected inside that film like a fortress of their own. Step 2. Feeding time. You eat something with sugar or refined carbs, a cookie, chips, soda, even bread. The bacteria in the plaque grab that sugar and ferment it for energy, and their metabolic byproduct, their waste, is acid, mostly lactic acid. So now, right at the surface of your enamel, the pH plummets, and you've got acid sitting directly against that mineral wall. This is the acid attack, and it kicks off within minutes and lasts roughly 20 to 30 minutes per exposure. Every snack restarts the clock. Step 3. The actual damage, demineralization. Here's the chemistry, and it's simpler than it sounds. Acid dissolves minerals. Your enamel is made of mineral, so the acid starts leaching calcium and phosphate ions right out of the enamel surface, literally pulling the building blocks out of the wall. At first, this is invisible. Then it shows up as a dull, chalky white spot on the tooth. That's enamel that's been hollowed of minerals at the microscopic level but hasn't collapsed yet. The surface is still technically intact, just weakened and porous, like a wall that's been hollowed out behind the paint. Step 4, and this is the magic moment I promised. At that white spot stage, the damage is reversible. Here's why. Your saliva isn't just water. It's packed with calcium and phosphate, the exact minerals that got pulled out. And fluoride from toothpaste or water supercharges the repair. It helps rebuild the enamel and actually makes the new surface more acid resistant than before. This rebuilding is called remineralization. So in a healthy mouth, there's a constant tug of war. Acid pulls minerals out, saliva and fluoride put them back. As long as repair keeps up with attack, you never get a cavity. The white spot can heal completely. This is the window, and it closes the moment the wall finally breaks. Step 5. The point of no return. If the acid attacks keep coming faster than your saliva can repair, constant snacking, sugary drinks all day, poor brushing, the demineralization wins. The weakened enamel finally collapses inward and forms an actual physical hole, a cavity. And this is the irreversible line. Once there's a real hole in the enamel, no amount of brushing, fluoride, or saliva can rebuild it, because the structure is gone, not just the minerals. Now there's a sheltered cave where bacteria hide from your toothbrush and keep producing acid right where you can't reach. The decay is now self-sustaining. Step 6. The breach deepens. The cavity tunnels through the enamel and reaches the dentin underneath, which is softer and less mineralized, so decay accelerates dramatically here. Dentin also contains those microscopic tubes connected to the nerve, which is why you might start feeling sensitivity now. If it's still ignored, the decay pushes on toward the pulp, the living core. When bacteria infect the pulp and nerve, you get that classic brutal toothache, and now you're past a filling into root canal or extraction territory. The fortress has fully fallen.
So the treatment depends entirely on how far it got. White spot? Fluoride and better habits. You can heal it. Small hole in enamel or dentin? A simple filling. The dentist cleans out the decay and plugs the hole. Reach the pulp? Root canal to remove the infected nerve, then a crown. Too far gone? Extraction. See the pattern? Every single stage is cheaper, easier, and less painful than the next one. The entire game is catching it early, which is the whole reason for checkups and x-rays. They spot the silent early stages before you'd ever feel them.
Ever notice cavities love certain spots and ignore others? It's not random at all. 3 places get hit the hardest. First, the chewing surfaces of your back molars, because they're covered in deep little grooves and pits where food and bacteria pack in, and a toothbrush bristle is often too big to actually reach the bottom of those grooves. That's exactly why dentists offer sealants, a thin protective coating painted into the grooves of kids' molars to smooth them over so food can't get trapped. Second, between your teeth, those tight contact points the brush physically can't reach, which is the entire reason flossing exists, and why so many cavities hide there invisibly until an x-ray catches them. And third, right along the gum line, where plaque collects and where it's easy to brush too gently or miss entirely. The pattern tells you something useful. The cavity-prone zones are precisely the zones that are hardest to clean. So if you want to outsmart decay, you focus your effort there, the grooves, the gaps, and the gum line, instead of just polishing the easy flat front surfaces that were never really at risk.
2 things worth knowing that quietly change the whole cavity equation. First, saliva is a bigger player than almost anyone realizes. It's not just spit, it's a mineral-rich repair fluid that neutralizes acid and ferries calcium and phosphate back into your enamel between meals. So anything that dries your mouth out, certain medications, mouth breathing, dehydration, some health conditions, removes your single best natural defense and lets acid win. If you have a persistently dry mouth, that's worth taking seriously and mentioning to your dentist because it dramatically raises cavity risk no matter how well you brush. Second, let me bust a stubborn myth that baby teeth don't matter because they fall out anyway. They absolutely matter. Decay in baby teeth can be painful, can cause infections, can affect how a child eats and speaks, and the baby teeth hold space and guide the adult teeth into place, so losing them early can cause crowding problems later. Cavities in baby teeth also signal that the conditions for decay are present, which often carries into the adult teeth. So caring for kids' teeth early isn't optional busy work, it sets up the permanent set for success. Same prevention rules apply: gentle brushing with the right tiny amount of fluoride toothpaste, watching sugar frequency, and early dentist visits.
So if that white spot stage is genuinely reversible, how do you actually tip the war toward repair in real life? It comes down to giving your saliva and fluoride the upper hand. Cut the frequency of acid attacks. That means grouping sugar and acidic stuff into mealtimes instead of grazing and sipping all day, so your mouth gets long stretches above that critical pH to rebuild. Brush twice daily with fluoride toothpaste and spit, don't rinse, so the fluoride stays on the enamel and keeps driving minerals back in. Stay hydrated so saliva keeps flowing and doing its repair work, and treat dry mouth seriously if you have it. Chewing sugar-free gum after meals boosts saliva and speeds recovery. And see your dentist who can apply concentrated fluoride to supercharge remineralization at those early spots. Do all that and an early white spot can genuinely reharden and stop in its tracks. But the moment it becomes an actual hole, that window slams shut. No routine rebuilds a structural cavity, and you need a filling. That's the whole reason. Here's the whole thing in one sentence, the version to actually remember. A cavity is acid made by bacteria feeding on sugar, slowly dissolving the mineral wall of your enamel, while your saliva and fluoride fight to rebuild it. Tilt the balance toward repair, less frequent sugar, good brushing, fluoride, hydration, and you win and can even reverse early damage. Tilt it toward attack, constant snacking and sipping, poor cleaning, and the wall eventually breaks into a permanent hole. It's a tug of war happening in your mouth all day, every day. And now that you can see it that way, every choice, when you snack, whether you rinse out your fluoride, makes sense as either helping the repair side or the attack side. So there it is. A cavity isn't a worm, and it isn't sugar eating your tooth. It's acid from bacteria, slowly dissolving a mineral wall, with your saliva fighting to rebuild it the whole time. Tip the balance toward repair, less frequent sugar, good brushing, fluoride, and you win. Tip it toward attack, and the wall eventually falls. Now you know exactly where that reversible window is, so you can actually use it. Drop a comment if this changed how you think about snacking. Mine definitely did. Next, go watch what happens when decay reaches the nerve and you need a root canal. It's wild. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.